yo en verdad llevo como este pues, pero estoy muy incluida. And guys, it's time to start. Thank you for coming today. Remember that this Friday, no class here, so you have free time for prepare your ethnographic project. Yes, please. Is there any question about concert report or something like that? Okay, if you have any question, please send me an email on or after the class we'll talk. Okay, but just that. Remember, no class this Friday. So bless you, and please try to work in your ethnographic project because April will be a horrible month because so many tasks to do. So today we have a guest speaker. It is more connected with performance, and it's Dr. Camila Oces. She's a Chilean pianist born in Talca. Dr. Oces holds a doctoral degree in musical arts and master degree in collaborative piano from the University of Oregon under the guidance of pianists Alexander Dozin and David Reed. She obtained her master degree in performance with the highest distinction at the St. Petersburg Rimsky-Korsakov State Conservatory in Russia, under the guidance of professors such as Oleg Malov, Sergei Ulban, and Irina Vasileva. Camila Oces has performed as a soloist in Russia, Mexico, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, and the United States. Please give an applause for Dr. Oces.
Hope you're having a nice morning. Today I'm going to talk about women composers, specifically from Chile. I know you have heard about Chilean musicians because Constanza, is from Chile too. But I'm going to talk about different people today. I'm a classical trained pianist, but I always was interested in knowing more about popular culture, because I grew up surrounded by Chilean popular music, folk music, but I never had the chance to play popular music because I was, as I said, classically trained. So now that I have more free time, I am not studying anymore, I have more time to do some research, and I wanted to share with you about 3 composers that I'm going to be talking about today. 2 of them are no longer alive, but one of them is a contemporary composer. She's quite young, and this is kind of like case study report for you guys. So the 3 composers I'm going to talk about is first Jocelyn Gonzalez, the one in the middle. She's actually from the same region I come from. As you see, I'm up from Chile here. This part of Chile I am from, this is a very long country, and the areas I'm going to be talking about, specifically about music, is the Nuclear region, which is Violeta Parra, the first composer is from. Jocelyn Gonzalez is from Curicó, which is the Maule region, but she was raised and grew up in Arica, very far away. So she based the work I'm going to talk about today that she composed is inspired in that part of Chile. So because it's a very long country, we have different influences, culturally speaking. So in the middle of Chile, we are more exposed to the cueca. I don't know if Constanza talked about that before, which is a folk genre. But in the north of Chile, there is a lot of influences of the Andean cultures that are connected with Bolivia and Peru. So part of Chile before was, as we know, Bolivia and Peru. But because of the war, then they became part of Chile. But they share a lot of similarities in the way they approach music and culture. The other composer is Maria Luisa Princesa Sepúlveda, which is also part of Ñuble region here in the that's kind of south central area of Chile. That also was influenced by cueca or tonadas, that already another guest artist or speaker talked about tonadas. So I'm not gonna dig too much on that, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. So let's start with Jocelyn Gonzalez. So as I said, she was born in the center of the country, but then she moved to the north. So she studied in La Serena, which is a little bit kind of in the middle, but still north of Chile, we consider. She studied independently composition with Valeria Valle, which is a very renowned women composer. But also she has a popular music project. She plays kind of like progressive metal stuff. She's a keyboardist, so she also has like two different profiles, like a more classical trained and also this popular, more metal project or progressive. I don't know how to describe it. But I'm going to talk about a work that she was commissioned in 2024. In Chile, many of the works that we hear that are contemporary music, they usually apply to grants. This is the only way that you can get the work performed. Like some orchestra or some people, some institution applies to a grant, then they win it and then they pay the composer. That's the way it works in Chile. I don't know how it works here. I interviewed her for this presentation because the work that she was commissioned for is called Cerro Dragón, which is a dragon hill. It's a place in Iquique, which is the second region in the north. So it's not super far away. I mean, it's far away, but it's not the highest point of Chile. And it's a hill that there is a myth around that hill, that it's a dragon from China that someone brought, and the dragon kidnap the chief's daughter. And then an Indian, that time in Chile, indigenous people, they were called Indians. So the legend says that one indigenous person, a guy, he rescued the daughter's chief. So he dressed like a warrior. He put some food on himself to attract the dragon, and then when the dragon was sleeping, he put some food with toxic, with poison. So then when the dragon was waking up to eat, he fell asleep again. And that's the way the dragon rescued that chief's daughter. So since then, that dragon sleeps forever. And that becomes this hill that you can see here, that has the shape of a dragon. And people say that when the wind blows, the dragon changes the shape. But it's always like that, if you can see. That's kind of like this vibe. So that is continually changing because of the wind. So when I asked Jocelyn, how you were inspired of that, she was like, I grew up in Tarapacá region, which is here, but the Dragon Hill is in Iquique, the Tarapacá region. And I was always, she said, hearing brass instruments, a lot of rhythms from the north that are a little bit different from the rhythms I, for example, grew up hearing. This is more like an inspiration rather than quotating exactly the rhythms or a melody. It's more a contemporary and abstract approach, as she says. So she's exploring a little bit with the timbres of the classical orchestra instead of bringing some folk instruments, right? Because as there are reality in Chile, we have professional orchestras and they don't play folk instruments. So you have to kind of adapt to the ensemble you're working for. And this work kind of narrates the story of that dragon and that warrior rescuing the princess or the chief's daughter. It has two movements, but also there is an introduction to the piece, and then the first movement starts, and then the second movement starts. I'm gonna play a little bit of her music, but first, this is the carnival she was attending when she was a kid, which is in Arica, and it's the last part of the very northern part of the country. And that's the way people celebrate. It's an all-day carnival that lasts many days. I never attended because it's too far away from me. I had to fly there, and it's kind of expensive, but it's a massive party, I would say, celebration. Not quite as the Brazilian carnival. It's a little bit different because it's not that hot, so we dress differently, and also the music is of course different. So I'm gonna play a little bit of that, of the carnival, because she was inspired of the sounds of the brass instrument and also the rhythms of the bombo and these percussion instruments that she also includes in her piece. And that's 5.
Palmas, palmas.
All the time. I was like, I just want to hear the music, but it was kind of difficult to find a spot in the video that they don't talk. But you can see that a lot of brass and percussion mainly. And this is the score that she worked on. There has some effect. This glissando. It says that with air sound, it's more an effect that the flute does, kind of emulating the wind blowing on the dragon heel. Also clarinet does the same, and then we have some like tremolos on the percussion instrument. So I'm gonna play just a little bit of Cerro Dragón because we don't have a lot of time. I'm gonna play the second movement. So she uses some motifs that are inspired on a lot of Chilean carnivals. They're like thirds. And also 4 intervals or like pentatonic scale. Something like that. For example. So it's not like entirely, I mean, you hear a little bit of folk music, but it's kind of like a blend between classical music and folk music. Stuff like that. Also intervals of chords are very typical of brass instruments or these rhythms on the percussion. So I'm gonna play a little bit for you. You can watch that on YouTube if you want to, when you're more interested. And she can also send you the score if you're interested in studying the score. The next composer is Violeta Parra. She's probably the greatest musician we have in our Chilean history. She had a very interesting career. She never studied music formally. She grew up playing guitar because her father was a musician. She moved to Santiago when she was quite young, at the age of 15 or so, to study, but then she quit because she started working as a musician in bars and taverns at the time, playing folk music. She realized there was a lot of suburban culture in Santiago growing, and so she got a job before she ended her high school. And then she toured as in a circus company playing folk music, also Spanish popular music, because at that time was very popular. But then, after some time, in 1953, she started recording for companies, folk music. She started to research and touring the country in the middle area of Chile, where I was from, to record, with a cassette recorder. Also to transcribe, she was writing what these folk musicians were these musicians were telling her. Some people weren't that open to share with her what they knew because it was more an oral tradition, but then she kind of won their confidence, so she would collect a lot of information. So she started recording for any audio company at that time, and then she started releasing a lot of albums. Then she went abroad. She played in a youth festival in Poland because she was a little bit related to the Communist Party at that time. So she would go to perform in the Soviet Union too, in Paris, in France too. So she had a very interesting career, but she never had economic stability because she was a freelance musician, basically. Sadly, a few years later, she committed suicide. So it was kind of a very tragic life. She was in love with a person that then with time it was didn't match. So she was very depressed because of that. And finally, her life ended like that. But she also was a very productive person. She worked on the arpilleras, which is a type of embroidering work. She got to exhibit her work at the Louvre, how you say Louvre? I never got that word right. That museum in Paris. It's the first Hispano-American visual artist in have an exhibition at that museum. That's quite an achievement for Chile and for Latin America. Also, she got a documentary filmed in the 60s in Paris. Also, she published a book of poems. She's very productive and prominent artist, not only as a musician. And she was researching especially about that the central part of Chile, but also she recorded music related to the north of Chile, like the one you listened before. She also composed her own music based on these folk traditions of Chile. Also, she studied the Mapuche people, which is the people of the south of Chile. So her music has a lot of influences. But this particular is a tonada, which is a popular folk song from the north, from the center of Chile. And this is a 1920s tonada that is performed nowadays by these two women. But I'm gonna show a little bit of that rhythm. So we have in the tonadas rhythms are a little bit like that. So we have these multiple combinations. This is a book by Margot Loyola, which she studies the tonada. So the rasgueado, which is what we do on the guitar, is very important for the rhythm of the tonada. So there's an indication how you use your hand. I don't really know how to do this, but these are the main combinations that you can do for a tonada. So for example, number 7, simple. So we have this combination of 6/8 and 3/4 constantly in the tonada. So we have like so sometimes it passes from 6/8 to 3/4 constantly. So I'm gonna play with you for you a little bit of this tonada, very traditional. Recorded as a CD of tonadas. This is a little bit of what she did. It's a different one. It's the same key. After recording many CDs of different Chilean music, she did a series of like 7 albums recording tonadas, like different folk styles in Chile. When she got already like a little bit more of fame and recognition as a musician after exposing in the Louvre, she got to write this very dramatic and tragic song called El Gavilán, or I think the translation is the Sparrowhawk. That has these tonadas rhythms all over the place, but the particularity is very unstable in the rhythm because she didn't write. She recorded 3 times, like not professionally. She recorded like 1 time in Paris when she was one of her trips. Then in Chile, a musicologist, I can remember her, Miguel Letelier, recorded her in the 60s. So there's a version that she recorded for him only. And then there is another one she recorded in the Radio Universidad de Concepción giving an interview. Because she wanted to create a ballet that never happened. She had this idea of combining people dancing, she in the center playing the guitar, and then having a big choir, like probably an orchestra. She wanted to do something with the municipal theater in Chile, which is our ballet and opera theater that we have. So she was very interested in the collaboration between academia or like classical music and folk music, but sadly that never happened. So she only wrote that song that was meant to be part of this ballet. This is a story of the unrequited love she had with this French musician, which also was like playing with her, and then he was touring in the north of Chile. He joined another group of Andean musicians, so he left finally, and she was left alone, very depressed. That's one of the causes that people say she, how do you say, like she didn't want to live anymore. So it's very tragic music. And it features the characteristics of the Chilean tonada, but in a different way. Because of the 7/8, the 5/4, the 5/8, it doesn't sound like, it sounds like that a little bit, and then we have this shorter meter of 5/8. So then it sounds like something is lacking, or you feel the instability throughout the whole song because of that meter change. And we have a musician, Mauricio de Benito, who's a Chilean guitarist. He made a transcription of the El Gavilan. So that's why we have the score. But Violeta Parra never wrote any score. She didn't know about music notation at all. So we start this song with the 6/8 meter. With 3/4. So it's okay. But then we have 6/8, 5/8, 4/8, and then 6/8. So this is one part of the song. It has like several parts. For example, we have this one. So she features this interval a lot, which is a diminished chord. Also, we have the triton here. That many years ago, that was like that meant. Someone knows how that means? That interval, or people thought it was like it had a meaning. Someone knows? Yeah, exactly. So it's a devil's interval or something because it sounds very unsettling. So we have the perfect fifth, and then we have this diminished fifth or augmented fourth. So she uses that throughout the whole song. For example, here we have this another theme of the song. Another fourth. And then we hear a little bit of fifth. Right. But it's a very long song, and the three versions, they are not exactly the same. So Valdebenito, the guitarist, he based this transcription on one of the versions, and we're gonna hear a little bit of that. So the interesting thing about this song is that she transgressed like the Chilean traditional tonada, and people call it like the tragic cueca, which cueca is very familiar with the tonada, kind of the same rhythm. The tonada is more for singing, and the cueca is more for dancing, but they're based on the same rhythmic structure. But people say that this is like the rock cueca or the tragic cueca because the lyrics are really painful, and also the rhythms are like unstable. So we're gonna hear a little bit of that because it's too long. It's like 10 minutes.
No te quise, mi vida no te quise, veleido, veleidoso, veleidoso, mi vida no te quise, yo te quise, veleidoso, yo te quise.
tiki tiki tiki, which is when we dance cueca. People say tiki 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 tiki. It's like a verbal thing that musicians do. And also te la llevaré, that's kind of like cueca, what musicians, what singers do when they sing cueca. But in this setting is so different. She's saying you're a liar, you're annoying, you're pretentious, you don't love me, I am very sorrow, my soul is very sorrow. But then she combines the 6/8 and you can hear the cueca again. But it's so sad all the time. And then at the end, it's kind of like a culmination of the song. It's really rock kind of thing. I'm gonna play the end. Oh, sadly, this is not the version I was looking for because that last part is long and she's talking about that gavilan, the sparrow, gavilan, gavilan, que me muero, gavilan. She's like, I'm dying, and it's longer than I was showing here because it's a different version. But it's really progressive at that time because it's a song from the 60s and she didn't know about Nirvana or anything of that, you know. But yeah, this is a very interesting song, and I hope you can listen to it entirely. But we're gonna move to the next composer, the last one. This is Maria Luisa Sepúlveda. She's also from kind of the central southern part of Chile, and she was a classical trained pianist. She studied violin. She founded an orchestra by women, which was 33. She's the first graduating composer of Chile in 1980. And also she is a pioneer of research in Chilean music. She's before Violeta Parra. She also collected music in the south of Chile, where she was come from. Because she worked at the conservatory at the time, there was like a reformation, and sadly she was fired from it. So she had to do something else, and she started teaching at schools and then doing this research work. But she wrote piano pieces in classical style, and other like the Chilean songbook is a collection of folk songs, and also she has a collection of tonadas and guitar pieces that sound like tonadas, that the ones we were listening before. This is very interesting, in my opinion. She wrote this. She transcribed pregones. Pregones are like sung. Kind of like you're selling something, but you are not a musician, but you need to promote your product. At that time, people didn't have cars, didn't have like radios and stuff like that, so they would promote their own products, selling on these vendors on the street, like singing. So she collected all these things that she knew, that she heard, on this book called The Voice of the Past. I don't know the exact date of this book, but probably it's in the 30s, 1930s. And also she has this Chilean song book from 1946. And these pregones, they show how the pitches, I mean, it's not accurate because, as I said, these people were not musicians, and it's what she heard. And for example, we have the uvero, it's the person who sells the grapes. And this is the singing of the uvero. So I'm selling black grapes, I'm selling white grapes. And then we have the empanadas vendor, Butler is very typical from Chile and from other Latin American countries. This that's from Chilean, from where she is from. So she collected these pregones, and then she wrote 2 pieces. One of them is based on a street vendor. It's not exactly a pregon, but it is an effect that the vendor does with an instrument to sell. That person is a knife sharpener, so he goes on the streets. He has a machine, probably in a bike or something with wheels, and then you give your knife, and then he, I don't know how you sharpen your knife or your tools if you need to. So this is the score of the knife sharpener, one of the 2 pieces for piano that are very impressionistic, these 2 pieces. And this is a Samacueca, which is very similar to the tonada, because she also was a folk researcher. So let's hear a little bit of... This is what I wanted to show you. I mean, she also wrote tonadas, but I'm gonna play a piece, the knife sharpener, but let's hear the sharpener first, the person.
El afilador ha sido un modesto artesano que siempre tras la rueda de afilar, con el sonsonete característico del chiflo, ha recorrido aldeas, pueblos, ciudades y países, afilando cualquier utensilio de punta y filo.
So this is in Spain, but the knife sharpener was also in Mexico, in Peru, in Chile, probably in all Latin America, but it's a tradition that comes from Spain. And then the last video is also like more modern sharpener. And this is the score of the sharpener. I'm gonna play for you a little bit. I haven't practiced much these days, but I hope you will enjoy this performance of the knife sharpener by Maria Luisa Sepulveda. And you're gonna hear that effect. I hope I can do it well. reference. That's on the right hand. It's quite challenging for us. It's a scale, but then have some black keys, and there are different fingerings for that. And some people in the conservatory play these pieces, but much slower because of that. Kind of hard to do. So yeah, this is my presentation. I hope you like it, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions so far, guys? No? Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Constanza, for the invitation.
Okay, give an applause for just before Robert, you can go away. Just I have to say something. I'm not going to a little bit. Okay, next Friday no class. You know that. And next Monday I'm gonna teach by Zoom. Why? Because the guest speaker, because the next week is a very different week, so as always, it's about indigenous music, and the guest speaker is based in London, the UK, so she will teach by Zoom. So we will see you next Wednesday, like in this room. And I'm gonna send a message by Canvas. Just remember all the things because it will be a mess. But just for clarifying these things. Okay. If you have any question so far? No. If everything is okay, please you can go now. Wherever you want. So see you next Monday also. Bye. Okay. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
You too. See you.
Thank you for playing today.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah.
So, I think right before break, I was sick. I had a doctor's appointment.
Okay.
And I missed. I haven't heard here. Like my appointment started there 15 minutes early and stuff, so I couldn't make the class. But
Yeah, you can. Send them with you.
sure,
By email and copy all the kids.
Okay.
That's okay.
sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.